Hello, everyone. How's everyone doing? Just put a one in the chat. Just put a one in the chat and let me know that you can hear me, please. Might have a few issues with the internet today because there is currently a horrid storm outside, like the rain, the thunder. The thunder is really thundering. So I do apologize if that does cause any issues. But do just let me know as the podcast is going on whether or not it's affecting the quality of the podcast at all. But nonetheless, hope you're doing well. I'm okay. I took a bit of a break. Needed a break because I don't know, guys. I've been kind of having a little bit of fatigue. Could be my cycle. Could be, I'm 35. Might need to get some checks or something. I was listening to another YouTuber who I follow, and she actually said that she entered perimenopause at 35, which is, I didn't even know that could happen or that was a thing. So just to let you know where I've been fine, but just like suffering with a little bit of unexplained fatigue. Right. And I have quite a few things to catch up on since I've been gone. Some good things, of course, but always some royal dramas too. Let's see who's in the chat first before we get into it. Has everybody watched the With Love Meghan Christmas special now? Is everybody putting... Oh, thank you for all of you for putting a one in the chat. Has everybody decided what they're going to be incorporating into their Christmas joy? This black girl, you are making crepes for breakfast. Sounds delicious. It's actually past 1 a.m. where I am. I had so much to do today, but I was not going to miss another day, another podcast. But yeah, it's like 1 a.m. where I am with a thunderstorm. Susie, Q, you need a baby. Well, in order to have a baby, I need a decent man. So, if you can find me the decent man, then I wouldn't mind having a baby. Oh, lady, you said this week I received my as ever wine crate and my chocolates. Yay! The chocolate sold out so quickly. I would have given anything to try the white chocolate. But I'm gonna have to just wait until the next cycle. I'm sure it's delicious and I hope that you enjoy it. All right, let me just give me a sec, folks, to just toggle something in the background and then we will get started, I swear. Can't believe it is almost the end of the year. Charles was gonna make an announcement. Now, I thought it would be a lot bigger than what it was. But it wasn't quite what I thought it was gonna be. But interesting that they still chose to make this grand announcement. I guess it's an effort to show some level of transparency, but there's so many other ways in which we don't get transparency that this barely makes up for it. Right. Just one more sec, folks. Okay. Oops. Lady said the dark chocolate with the sea salt hit. The milk chocolate was good. I'm not going to pretend like the white chocolate, so I didn't order it. I love white chocolate. The Daily Mail owner is buying the Telegraph. They control the industry. Yeah, I heard something about this, but I feel like I need to do a little bit more digging to get more details. Granted, I think more details will come out. This is why it's so important to support outlets like Byline Times. right? Because they're proving themselves to truly be very mindful journalists that are willing to do hard-hitting things. So that's why it's important to support independent media, folks. But indeed, that is happening. And that is so interesting that that is also happening as the Daily Mail is going into another court case, ongoing court case in January, February, with several claimants, including Harry. Right. Sorry, folks, I'm just having a little bit of trouble on the back end today. Computer is lagging loads. Okay, first things first, let's start with some good news. Okay, start with the good news. Now, I haven't had a moment to watch it, but the Masaka Kids, A Rhythm Within, is on Netflix. It debuted on December 12th. So please do go and watch it. I will be watching it and supporting. This is, produced by part produced by Archewell, supported by them, and an incredible story of and it follows the journey of the viral Masaka Kids, Africana dance group from Uganda's Southwest Masaka region. It's one of the most touching documentaries I've ever watched, as this commentator said. And if you need your faith restored in humankind, this will do. So we absolutely need our faith restored in humankind. So please do go and support that. Also, Australia took the decision to protect kids online and ban social media for under 16s. Now, there's been a lot of back and forth about this. Is this actually going to work? People can get around censorship. Does it violate, freedom of information and all that kind of stuff? I don't actually think there's one solid answer to this. But it's sad that it has had to come to this. But the way in which children are being targeted, especially very young kids with this AI harassment, young women and girls being targeted with harassment. The reality is now that if your face has been out there, people can make the most horrible images of you, video of you. And a lot of the harassment is very gendered. But otherwise, regardless of gender, and anybody can be a target of this, anybody can be a target of bullying. Also, issues with AI. There's been reports of people, we know through the Archewell Foundation, children and young people who have been affected either directly or indirectly by social media and AI and lost their lives. So I understand that this is an attempt to kind of curb that, but I do think there is a wider cultural issue at play here. And I do think that, especially in regards to what we talk about on this channel every single day, media literacy, especially in an age of AI, and also helping young people and everyone just to deal with a lot of the issues that can arise from being in the online space, and even if you're not actively in the online space, navigating, being in this online era. But organizations like Archewell and others, I think, are trying to find their own ways, even if we don't agree with all of the ways. And I definitely do have my issues with the social media ban, but in the ways that they can. And that is still very much appreciated. And Archewell did mark the milestone on the Archewell website. Australia takes bold action to protect kids online, but it shouldn't have come to this. Also, Meghan and Harry being involved in more productions. In Sundance's The Cookie Queens. This is a movie that's premiering. Meghan posted, as a former Girl Scout myself with my mom as my troop leader, I have a personal affinity for this film, and I'm proud that all of our conversations and collaborations have led to Archewell Productions partnering with this award-winning team to executive produce this incredibly captivating documentary. When we first viewed the early footage of this documentary, it was immediately something we wanted to be involved in. The creative point of view, the edgy yet humanizing tone and tenor of the directing, and the glimpse behind the scenes into such a nostalgic and also modern tradition of Girl Scout cookie season are absolutely irresistible. Now, we do have scouts in the UK. I never went, and it's like, funnily enough, even though we do have scouts in the UK, I feel like it's not as big of a thing, like culturally, as in the US. So even like my understanding of like, Girl Scouts is from like American movies and like TV shows and stuff. So I'm sure that's very interesting. If you have the opportunity to watch it, I don't know where it's going to be streamed exactly. I will try and find out. But as always, let's try and support any projects that Harry and Meghan are involved in, especially if they are empowering young women and girls. And again, something that Meghan is not new to, she's true to, you know? I think it's just so easy for Harry and Meghan to find projects that interest them and that align with them because they've got so much to pull from their own endeavors. Okay. Joan Garcia, so you got your 3 chocolates yesterday. Yay. Enjoy. And make sure that you are subscribed to the As Ever newsletter because they put all types of things in there. Not just promotions, also recipes and stuff. Yes, please do. It's Christmas time. Support Squatty Hooks. Definitely need to have Rahini back on. I think she's been taking a break. Ooh. Joy, she said, I have watched the Masaka Kids 10 times already and I love it. I will watch it every day, 2 times each. I can't count how many times I have watched the Christmas special. Yeah, the Christmas special was amazing. I actually want to watch it again because I feel like the first time I watched it in a rush because I felt like I had to report on it very quickly. So I want to watch it again and really absorb all of it. Okay. Next thing, let's have a look now. So yeah, go check out all of that. Go and support all of that. Also, some new photos of Harry and Meghan from Miss Anne Harriam. Unseen photos. Maybe y'all can help me out. I don't know where the photo of Harry and Meghan. I don't know which photo shoot that is from, but it's absolutely gorgeous. But this one is Meghan. I think she's watching a rehearsal. I think she's probably watching Harry rehearse, maybe for Invictus. But gorgeous, powerful photos. May this type of love find me. May this type of love find all of us. Just without the crazy royal family, of course. Miss Anne always takes fantastic photos. He wrote a Substack and he had all of these photos, his best photos of Harry and Meghan, and he put 2 photos that I don't believe we've ever seen these 2 photos before. Also, I really appreciate that the As Ever team continue to repost all of your amazing As Ever bounty. Definitely make sure that you tag them so that they can repost your stuff. And the reason I love this is just because it really shows that, all of this chatter about, people not finding As Ever relatable it's just nonsense. People clearly love this brand. They're buying the brand, and any suggestion that some people don't relate or they can't afford it or anything like that, it's just like, listen, you can go to Bath and Body Works or the Poundland or the Target and buy cheaper candles and buy cheaper jam if you want to. I have seen some amazing stuff from people since As Ever came out and continue to. So that's that. Next thing. Karma coming for the haters as usual. Listen, I think it's always important to try and show people compassion, but it has to work both ways. And you can't expect people to show compassion to you when you've been bullying others. And this is exactly what's happening with Kelly Osbourne. So Kelly Osbourne seeks compassion while past attacks on others resurface. Um, let's have a look at this Feminagra article. Feminagra is amazing, by the way. They've really like risen up the ranks in terms of written content. I feel like they're really getting up there with celebrity now. So Kelly Osbourne returned to public view in late 2025 after a difficult summer marked by the death of her father, Ozzy Osbourne. Her appearance sparked immediate commentary. Supporters expressed concern, while critics mocked her sharper features and significant weight loss. She responded with a direct Instagram video that called out women who attacked her while she grieved. Her anger resonated with some viewers, yet the backlash grew as old clips resurfaced that showed Kelly and Sharon, her mother, mocking others in similar ways. Their recent plea for empathy now sits beside a long record of harsh remarks about public figures, including Meghan Sussex and Prince Harry, Katie Price, and Latina women. And this is why you just need to be nice to people, because when it's your time to grieve, people will remember what you said. Kelly Osbourne addressed the criticism with an unfiltered message. She accused online commentators of acting like bullies who hide behind claims of concern. Kelly noted that many of the attacks came from women who identified as mothers or counselors. She said they compared her 41-year-old face to images from her teens and ignored how grief altered her body after an 85-pound weight loss. Her frustration peaked when she reminded viewers that she just lost her father to cardiac arrest in July 2025. Sharon Osbourne echoed that sentiment in a separate interview with Piers Morgan and said people needed to leave her daughter alone. Oh, I mean, you needed to leave Meghan alone. Sharon Osbourne went after Meghan many, many times. She called Prince Harry a vulgar name, dismissed his mental health disclosures, and told him to suck it, even though he had only recently lost his grandmother. She argued that his grief held no special weight and mocked his attempt to explain his past trauma. Those remarks resurfaced with millions of views and shaped the conversation around her current plea for empathy. Critics recalled the Osbournes mocking Katie Price's face and singing on their 2024 podcast. They referenced Kelly's 2012 on-air remark linking Latina women to domestic work. I mean, who could forget that? Who could forget that? Kelly's claim that women should support women did not match the record many people remembered. Yeah. That indeed. I think her call for empathy lands in a landscape shaped by her own record. People remember her insults aimed at Meghan Sussex, her dismissal of Prince Harry's trauma, and the mockery of Katie Price. These moments form a pattern that shapes how her audience reacts. Many now point out the audacity of asking for grace while ignoring how often she denied it to others. And I think she should start by apologizing for other stuff that she said. Not nice at all. Okay, next thing, I will also read some of your comments before we trollop on. I just want to do a quick roundup on this whole Thomas Markle debacle. So far, this seems to have gone a little bit silent. I think the Daily Mail have realized that this little plan of theirs has not gone well. They have indulged in unethical journalism. It's also quite interesting that in one of the more recent articles about this, they're using a different writer now, because Carolyn Graham was actually the person who handed over Thomas's letter the first time when it got published, and the Daily Mail got sued. And here she is again by his bedside. And as this person rightfully said on Twitter, there is not a single decent person who is not dismayed that the first person Thomas Markle contacted in a health crisis was a Daily Mail reporter. There is not a decent person who is wondering why information about Thomas Markle goes through a Daily Mail reporter. Indeed, there isn't. I mean, there's not a decent person wondering that, but even the likes of Camilla Tominey are also wondering that. So that's how you know you messed up. And for some reason, the media have gone a little bit quiet. I wonder why that is. I wonder why that is. Yes, Gak, this is why people need to watch the energy that they put out in the world. Watch your energy, folks. Anyway, just to wrap this up, Thomas Markle does have that letter. That's the last that we heard. Meghan was very clever, communicating with him via email and written letter, sending somebody from the embassy to go and check up on him. Chef's kiss. My guess is that they knew that the Daily Mail would try and pull something like this off eventually, and they were prepared because Harry and Meghan's team have been absolutely seamless with this. So we're going to see, are the Daily Mail going to try it and publish that letter or not? I hope not. I sincerely hope they are not that silly and stupid, but with the tabloids and their desperation, you never know. Now, on to another royal father, Charles. Charles, of course, had an announcement about his cancer diagnosis. Weren't sure how this was going to go, but here we go. Here are some photos of King Charles from this week. He went solo to an Advent service at Westminster Abbey on December 10th. He looked quite pale and tired. He's aged a decade in the last 2 years. I keep thinking about Robert Jobson's latest book, in which high-placed sources claim that Charles was in a lot of pain even before his cancer diagnosis nearly 2 years ago. February will be the 2-year anniversary of Charles's diagnosis. The British papers have stopped mentioning Charles's weekly treatments, but he's still getting them, and he still builds his schedule around being in London midweek for those undisclosed treatments. Well, later today, Charles is going to speak publicly via a television address about his cancer. The headlines make it sound like Charles is going to deliver a dramatic announcement about his health. This does not seem to be the case. It sounds more like a general statement about early cancer screenings and general support for people with cancer and cancer survivors. And that's exactly what it was. It actually wasn't anything more than that. So, again, it sounds like a regular message of support, not a big update about the state of his health. I jumped when I saw the headlines too, because as head of state, Charles has probably been encouraged to make a televised public address about the state of his health. You know what I'm saying? If he had something major to announce, he would do it via a pre-recorded televised statement. But that's not what this is. This is something in association with Stand Up to Cancer. Speaking of, it's odd that the Princess of Wales isn't doing anything with Stand Up to Cancer, or really any cancer charity or cancer network. Indeed, it's odd. It's been odd since the very beginning. I think she did like one thing where she sat down with people who had had cancer treatment, and that was about it. She doesn't seem to want to make herself front and center with this conversation at all, which is rather interesting. Also, a lot of people have pointed out, regarding Charles's announcement that, the UK, we are still relatively good when it comes to cancer treatment, cancer diagnosis, okay? But we do still lag behind a little bit with some of our other, developed nations. And so, all good and well, Harry's dad is fine. He's fine due to early diagnosis, effective intervention, but same can't be said for everybody going through treatment. There is a waiting list, there are delays, there is a postcode lottery, and the NHS is struggling right now. So I think the real message here should have been, how can we just ensure that everybody gets the treatment that they need at the time that they need it and the type of treatment that they need. It just reeks of the privilege and the wealth that these people have, that he would sit here and not try to stretch the conversation further. But that, of course, would mean having to address inequalities, which we know that that's absolutely not what Charles is going to do. Okay. Did I want to mention anything else? Oh yes. Do you know what? The story about Charles being a billionaire, I think it's actually a Telegraph article that's quite long. So I'm gonna leave that for today. I actually wanted to focus on something else. It was a really interesting interview with Christian Amanpour, and this guy who was doing an interview, no, not an interview, a documentary about the royals and money. So we're going to listen to what he has to say, and then we'll discuss and give commentary. This was on CNN.
You know, you are this institution yourself.
I'm not an institution.
Well, you kind of are. People want
like
to say that you are. But you have a father, you have a brother. All of the Dimbleby family has been very, very important in chronicling Britain, really, over the decades. What was it that made you want to do this particular one as someone who's actually been covering the royals for all these years? Now you say, what's the monarchy for?
It goes back to something the Queen said 30 years ago, which was that all institutions benefit from criticism, including the monarchy, and none of them should avoid scrutiny. And that's been my watchword. And what made me interested in doing it now, which is 35 years after she made that speech, her annus horribilis, as she called it, when everybody was getting divorced and Windsor Castle.
You know, it's quite interesting when you hear that and you realize that the Queen herself pulled all kinds of strings to make sure that the institution was not criticized. You know, there's been so many law changes, the bribing, the money, the 12 million given to Virginia Giuffre to let Andrew off the hook. And so I don't think the Queen was necessarily true to her word, in terms of, you know, nobody's above criticism, even the institution. I think in many ways those were just empty words to appease people at the time.
All sorts of hell let loose. The reason for doing it now was I suddenly realised that the BBC had never actually done it. They do the occasional Andrew interview when he's in disgrace, Diana when she's in trouble, you know, they interviewed her. But they've never looked at the monarchy as an institution. I thought I'd been covering events for the monarchy, which is different. But let's just have a look at how the thing works, because, and this is the important point, in Scotland and Wales, remember we're 4 countries in the UK, in Scotland and Wales there's now a narrow majority against monarchy, and a rising number of young people in this country against monarchy. So it seemed to me a good moment to say, is it worth?
That's a very interesting point, but I wonder, if you were to look at those figures or talk to those people even deeper, is it monarchy, or is it the feeling that in the era that we're living in, grand displays of wealth, including looking after this royal family, just seem out of place? If we didn't have the problems that we're having now, would there be a higher tolerance for the royal family?
Working? Is it how it should be?
Okay, so you're right. There's always questions about should this be a republic, should it be a monarchy, should the monarchy have influence because they're not elected, all of that kind of stuff. But you know, because you covered it, when the Queen was there, the monarchy was very, very popular. And actually, Prince William, Prince of Wales, and the Princess of Wales, they're also personally very, very popular in their roles. So, and when you dug into it, did you find that it was open to scrutiny? Were you able to actually set yourself a mission and find the answers easily?
I tell you, it's incredibly difficult. I wrote to the BBC when I'm saying I'd like to do the monarchy, and these are the 3 subjects I'd like to do: their power, their wealth, and their image. And to my amazement, the BBC agreed, and they backed me all the way through about this. But getting people to speak about the monarchy was like blood out of a stone. I mean, we did have 2 private secretaries in the end who were brilliant, but they speak in a kind of cryptic way. Nobody comes out and says, well, this is this is that. If you talk about taxation or money, they're very defensive. If you talk about, I mean, there was the wonderful one about whether when Diana...
Indeed, of course I would get very, very defensive, because there is absolutely no clarity on royal finances. We spoke about this actually on the special podcast that I did with Catherine Skinner, and how there have been, some efforts to look at things like properties that the royals live in. And I think for the first time, these, discussions are really coming to the forefront. And I think it's going to become more and more difficult for the royals to ignore this as people demand answers. At the very, very least, we should know exactly where our taxpayer money, that sovereign grant money, is going, and any other money that they, are able to make through, estates, investment, etc., or money that they're willing to, money that they're able to save through, for example, tax havens.
Was killed in Paris, whether they should have come back quicker to London. And the expression the private secretary at the time used is, maybe we were a bit behind the curve. It's that kind of language you have, but you can discover how it works, I think.
She was killed in that tragic car crash, of course. And actually, I think the royal family was caught totally off guard, wasn't it?
Yes.
By the massive national and actually international reaction to her death.
Yes. I mean, I think they have great difficulty. They're a family, is the other side of this. They are a family. I mean, as with Andrew, he's Charles's brother. So they were looking after the kids, Diana's kids. And there's this conflict all the time between the family and the institution, which is difficult. But there's another much more important conflict, which is that outside the UK, outside Britain, they are like the Kardashians. They're glamorous. I mean, in the United States, it is unbelievable. There's a whole channel devoted to the royal family, and they're obsessed by what they see as the glamour. But back here in Britain, they have a job.
It's interesting he describes it that way, because from my perspective, being in this space, I don't know if I get the feeling that that's how people kind of view the royals. I think they probably find the royals interesting, but I think in the last 5 to 10 years, I think that especially Meghan coming into the fold, that a lot actually got exposed. And that so-called interest that he talks about, it doesn't necessarily translate into, anything meaningful. Like, for example, I think I saw something on my feed today. They were auctioning off a champagne bottle from Charles and Diana's wedding or something like that. And they couldn't find a buyer. Like, nobody was, bidding for it. So I don't know if I agree with the way that he says that, the way in which he tries to describe the royals as being popular outside of the UK, or at least in the context that he tried to explain it.
They have a job to do as head of state. And those two things are in conflict. There's the glamour on the one hand, with a sort of all the, gorgeous coaches and the trumpets and the drums and the horses and all that stuff. And that's one side of a projection of Britain, which Donald Trump falls for instance.
Yeah. So does everybody.
And the other is that they do have the tricky job of being head of a country that is suffering badly economically at the moment, has got a lot of problems, and they have to kind of attune themselves to doing that job, which is a different job from being sent out to Australia or to Canada or to the USA.
Yes, so we're going to get to that in a little bit, but I think you would also, I don't think, quibble with the fact that their glamour, their visibility, their enduring, presence is also a vital part of Britain's soft power. It sends the British message out in a great, in colourful and respected way.
Yes.
But it also gets a huge amount of tourism here and adds significantly to the GDP, right?
No, I dispute the tourism one.
All right.
In fact,
Yeah, and I think it's incredible that a top journalist like Christiane Amanpour would regurgitate things that are just so easily disputed. Also, the issue when it comes to soft power is, well, when you see how it turned out when William and Kate went on their last tour, it was a disaster. Sophie and Edward going to the Caribbean and, handing someone a photo of themselves. That so-called soft power is at this point, like it's softer than an egg, softer than the inside of an egg, softer than butter. Like, how much softer is that soft power gonna get? Because if they're gonna send the royals out, they can't just send them out to smile and wave anymore. And now people are just naturally going to start comparing, okay, Harry and Meghan go to one place and they actually create some impact and people are so excited to see them. These two go to another place and they're rolling around in jeeps and just, causing offense and annoying everyone. They need to rethink what they think, or how they see soft power, if that's what they want to go on about, if that's what they think that the royals can bring. They need to rethink what that looks like.
Board gave up saying this 20 years ago because
Really?
they decided it couldn't
I'm late to that party.
It couldn't be proven. But in terms of soft power, I mean, there are instances where it can really work. In Ireland, for instance, she was the first. The Queen was the first sovereign to set foot in Ireland, in an independent Ireland. It was a British colony before. And that has a kind of healing effect, yes.
You are this institution yourself.
I'm not an institution.
Well, you
Righty, that was some very interesting commentary. Let's go to your comments. Helen, you said, and I have watched both episodes of David and Blue. What's the Monarchy for? It was very interesting. I feel like I need to watch it as well now. I definitely need to watch it. Yes, thank you for reminding everyone to put their thumbs up, Wendy. Appreciate it. Help the algorithm find us. And thank you to everybody that watched thank you to everybody that did watch the podcast with Catherine, but also the last podcast. That was probably one of my most viewed in a while. Like, you all seem to really enjoy that one. I don't know if it's just because everything started kicking off with Thomas Markle. But yeah, that's one of my most viewed in a while, actually. So I think it's also just because like Meghan outsmarted the Daily Fail, so we were really happy about that. Traditionally, they could do more than they are doing now. Of course, they could. Gail Lewis, unable to sleep, and here you are. I wasn't unable to sleep as well. That's why I'm here, and I had such a long day. I did not have time to do a podcast. But now I am definitely ready to go to sleep. My herbal tea is kicking in, folks. Yeah, I would say that America was definitely enamored by Princess Diana, but so was everybody else. The way he was describing it as if like, oh, that's how Americans see all of royalty. I don't think that's the way it is. At least not now, anyway. Maybe a long time ago. And Maggie said, I hear very little about the royals here in the USA. There are a few so-called royal experts here who don't know what they're talking about. Indeed, indeed. All right, folks, I'm going to end things there. Appreciate all of you as always. Hit the thumbs up button and subscribe button on the way out, please. And links in bio if you would like to donate to the channel. Donating helps us keep it running over here. And I appreciate you all so, so much. Christmas is just around the corner. If you wanted a little bauble that looked like Prince William, well, they're sold out, you see. Now, they were £40, and then they got reduced to £10, and then they got reduced to £1. You know what that tells me? It was probably never even worth half of what the original price was. From 40 to £1. I mean, if it's going to be £40 for one of these things, surely the gold would at least be gold leaf. This probably costs 20p to produce, and they were going to sell it for £40. But clearly, Selfridges buyers aren't silly and stupid, because they had to reduce it all the way to £1. to get you that bauble of Prince William up on your tree. All right. Jokes aside, folks, have a fantastic day wherever you are in the world, day, night. Love you all, and we will catch up tomorrow. Ciao. Yes, Duchess, that is absolutely real. It is real. Ha ha ha. Ciao.